meal deal at a cost of just $25 to feed 5 people. So the online retailer's deal includes an 8-pound frozen butterball turkey. The sides include pre-made mashed potatoes, gravy, green bean casserole, stuffing, croissant rolls, and that cranberry relish.
There's also your choice of pecan, pumpkin, or sweet potato pie. The meal will be available to order starting next Wednesday. Search for it on Amazon or on Amazon Fresh section of the website through Thanksgiving Day. The deal may even be eligible for same-day delivery in some areas.
Out there with live cam. Again, this is a beautiful week, but we are preparing for probably a crazy weekend. Like Saturday, we'll be in shorts, and Sunday, we're going to be searching for our jackets.
I know it's so hard to believe that we're talking about 80s and even near 90 degrees as we're also getting ready for Thanksgiving. But some good news is, yes, some cooler temperatures are on the way, but molds are sitting low today at 320, and it's the only allergen we're reporting today. But some bad news is the aquifer actually is down 1/10 of a foot. We're tracking some weather changes. I'll break down the forecast coming up after the break.
Believe it or not, this week marks 4 months since the historic Hill Country flood. Search teams are still continuing their effort to find the bodies of 2 people still missing, Jeffrey Ramsey and Seal Stewart.
Well, Texas Parks and Wildlife game wardens, including K9 teams that walked miles, were among the first on the scene. And our Patty Santos checked in with them during their first post-flood training to see what's different.
Dustin Fleming. I'm a Texas game warden, and I'm a canine handler, and this is my partner Piper, and she's 3 years old.
On July 4th, Dustin Fleming and Piper were not far from Hunt.
Hits very close to home, 21 miles away from Kerrville. I got the call early that morning, and we responded.
For 5 days, they did what they're trained to do: search for people trapped or lost.
It was the worst thing that we've ever seen.
Other game warden, canines, and handlers soon followed them.
We were there starting from the 2nd day on through the 4th day. And as a live find dog,
there was a lot of debris fields, large debris fields, 20, 30 feet tall. She had to work kind of through all of that.
One section of the river, I think we covered about 8 miles of river.
There was hope of live finds early on. After a few days, that changed, and so did their assignment.
We all took a lot away from Kerrville.
At their most recent training, the dogs are focusing on learning a new skill, like pushing past a unique roadblock.
We want the dogs to know that even if water's barricading them from the target, which is a missing person, we want them to be able to cross it or learn how to find their way around it.
Getting in different training areas, maybe finding those areas where there are large debris piles, working through that, and creating a realistic environment to where those skill sets are applicable to the next tragic event that takes place in Texas.
Really great to see all of those skills still being put to use. We know some of those families are still waiting for answers, so glad to see them. Thank you for what you're doing out there, and I'm glad it's good weather for them, because I know during those search and rescue efforts,
it was too high.
There was a lot of weather issues, and so now it's actually better to be out there in the clear weather.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a weather roller coaster. I mean, we had such heavy rain even after the July 4th floods, and then this weekend it's still going to be hot, sadly, for all the recovery efforts out there. And I'll touch on the heat that we're going to see this weekend coming up in just a second. But today is still going to be a beautiful day. I mean, we're still seeing those mostly blue skies, just seeing a little bit of that mostly clear skies this afternoon, already getting to 77 degrees, and it's November. This is traditionally where we would see our peak temperature, and we're still going to warm up at least a little bit throughout the rest of the afternoon. 75 degrees in areas of Bernie, 76 as you get into areas of Kerrville. But this afternoon, our peak temperature is expected to be about 84 degrees, still seeing those clear skies for most of us. And then this afternoon, once that sun really starts to set this evening, our temperatures will quickly begin to drop, because those clear skies at night will allow our temperatures to be a little on the cooler side. 84 degrees in San Antonio today, still warm conditions along just to the west of us near the Rio. 90 degrees in Carrizo Springs today, 90 as you get towards Laredo. But not only that, We're expecting tomorrow morning to be similar to what we saw this morning, with that possibility of fog. Now, with that, there is that possibility some areas might see that dense fog. So keep in mind, as you're driving to work tomorrow morning, you're driving those kiddos to school, you might want to take some extra time. We're still seeing those foggier conditions for the morning for most of us, just through San Antonio and just to the west of us. But once that sun starts to rise, that sun really targets that fog and it starts to diminish and lift up to being a little bit of that cloud coverage. We'll see those sunnier skies as we go throughout the day on Friday night. And then as we get to Saturday, there is that possibility of a few areas having some redevelopment for fog, but most of it does appear to stay towards the south near the coastal plains or even towards areas of Houston where they're seeing a little bit more of that humidity. So with the fog, you will want to slow down, take some extra time, give a little more of that extra room, and use the low beams. When in doubt, follow the road lines. You never want to use the high beams when you're dealing with that fog. Now, the fog's only expected to really be as widespread tomorrow, maybe a little bit on Saturday morning. But what we're watching Saturday night into Sunday is really that cold front moving through, giving us our temperatures in the mornings. Monday, Tuesday, waking up in the 30s. Some areas might even get below freezing next week as well. So here's what we're watching, and here's what's really causing it. We're seeing a low pressure system and a cold front move through areas of the country starting Saturday morning, but really having an effect Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning. And all of that cooler Canadian and all that cold Arctic air is really going to be able to feed in behind it due to those northerly winds. Now, those northerly winds can cause a little bit of a problem Sunday afternoon for us in San Antonio, but all that cool Canadian and Arctic air is going to linger and sit into areas of San Antonio Monday and Tuesday, only allowing our peak temperature Sunday and Monday getting into the 60s. Still going to be a little warmer as we go into Monday and Tuesday with the 70s returning, but it is going to be a gorgeous morning on Monday and Tuesday, even though there is that slight chance of some temperatures being near or below freezing.
Thank you, Shelby. Well, a local family made quite a splash last night on the hit ABC show Shark Tank with their first portable first aid kit. So the 6 members of the Titzman family from Jordanton pitched their Medic multi-tool to the wealthy TV investors.
It is a portable triangular cloth that, in an emergency, can act as a tourniquet, a mask, or a hair tie, among other things. The family patriarch, Dustin, is a retired San Antonio firefighter and Army Black Hawk helicopter pilot.
Well, in the end, FUBU CEO Damon John agreed to invest $50,000 in exchange for 20% of the company.
Being proud was one of a big emotion for the kids working so hard and all of us working so hard together. Having faith that we're going to have what we need to get it right was a big part, but the nerves of just you truly only have one shot. There's no, oh wait, can we say that again? Can we back up? You have a single shot for a handful of minutes, and you've worked so hard to get to that point. I mean, never was a super athlete, but I imagine like that'd be sort of getting to your Super Bowl, like, okay, you worked really hard, now it's time to perform.
Well, congratulations again to the Titzman family, and they will use their new investment to expand their reach and bring hands-on first aid training and kid-friendly medical kits to more homes, schools, and communities across the country.
So exciting for those kids.
I'm ABC's Perry Russman in Washington. The FAA says there will be flight reductions at 40 airports across the country. We'll tell you which ones coming up.
Well, so far, it's smooth sailing at the San Antonio International Airport, but airports across the country are bracing for more flight cancellations and delays.
So after the FAA says that there will be flight reductions at 40 airports. As ABC's Perry Russman reports, it is day 37 of the government shutdown, and its effect on air travel is intensifying in some parts of the country.
This is the list of the 40 airports that will see FAA flight reductions starting tomorrow. It includes the busiest airports in the country, from Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson to LAX, Dallas-Fort Worth, JFK in New York City, Miami, Detroit, and DCA in Washington.
In the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing yesterday a 10% cut in flights across the country. That will lead to more canceled flights.
This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure?
Pressure has been building on air traffic controllers forced to work without pay during the government shutdown, now on day 37, the longest shutdown in U.S. history. It's led to staffing shortages, delays, and ground stops. TSA workers also feeling the pressure, more than 60,000 of them missing paychecks. Long lines snaking at security checkpoints.
This is going to be an unimaginable, unprecedented, unwelcome, unpleasant level of chaos.
ABC's Rachel Scott with FAA radar technician and union rep Cleverson Schmidt.
So you were already short-staffed.
Correct.
And how much worse has the shutdown made it?
It's exponentially made it worse because we're exhausted now.
And how much does that compromise air safety?
Every day it goes up. That compromise goes up every single day.
Sources say the FAA will start cutting flights by 4% tomorrow and then ramp up over the weekend. The CEO of Frontier is advising passengers to buy tickets on separate airlines if they are flying in the next 10 days. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Well, SNAP benefits will be partially restored, but not for everyone. Who might be affected?
Millions of people across the nation may not get their SNAP benefits this month. We're learning this after getting more clarity about the White House's plan to partially restore SNAP benefits. So let's break this all down for you. On Monday, the Department of Agriculture said that it would issue partial benefits this month by tapping into the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program's contingency fund. On Tuesday, the Trump administration released a plan for SNAP benefits, and that was to comply with 2 federal judges' rulings. Here's the problem. Families receiving other assistance could make too much money to receive those partial benefits. That's according to a new analysis done by a research organization. Those other benefits include Social Security, disability, or unemployment. That essentially counts as income, so it will be factored in when calculating SNAP benefit qualifications. So you're going to see this story on a lot of news outlets. Just so you're aware, this stems from the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. It's considered a left-leaning research and policy institute. They analyzed the partial SNAP benefits payment plan and released a report. Now, that might seem skewed, but in these tough economic times, we need to have as much information as possible. It's very important. So we wanted to bring you anything that could be helpful in this situation.
Thank you, Courtney. And happening today, if you are serving our country for working for the federal government, you have the chance to get free food today. So Catholic Charities and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is hosting a food distribution for active duty military members and federal employees. This is happening at the St. Stephen's Care Center from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Supplies are limited, so make sure to bring your federal ID to receive a pre-packaged bag of food.
San Antonio, our neighbors need our help. On Monday, November 10th, KSAT Community and our partners, RBFCU and University Health, are teaming up with the San Antonio Food Bank and Meals on Wheels SA for one powerful day of giving. From 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., we are collecting food and resources to help these local families impacted by the government shutdown and the SNAP suspension. That donation drive is happening at the Pinstack location off of Loop 410. Drop-offs begin at 9 a.m., but you can bring donations as early as 7 a.m. Pet food also encouraged. Anyone who donates will also receive a $5 game card from Pinstack. We hope to see you there.
Taking a look outside with live cam. It's a warm, beautiful afternoon on this Thursday, even some drier conditions for most of us. So it is going to be a beautiful day to maybe have lunch outside, maybe even spend your evening outside if you want. But there's still a few things you need to know. Yes, we're still going to be above average today and this weekend, but even then, seeing 84 degrees later today being your peak temperature. Still seeing those sunnier skies, but once that sun starts to set, temperatures will quickly start to decrease. And don't forget that after daylight savings really happened this last Sunday, our sunset is now before 6 p.m. So keep that in mind as you're planning your evening. Still seeing about 77 degrees as we go throughout about 7 p.m. or so. But what we're watching is this weekend. Yes, temperatures today getting to about 84 degrees, but this weekend and even really tomorrow, temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s. 88 degrees tomorrow, 88 on Saturday, excuse me. And with that, we're near the possibility of near record-breaking heat both tomorrow and on Saturday before that cold front comes through. But with that cold front, not only is it still going to bring our temperatures down to about 68 degrees, we're going to see those breezier conditions. Now, there is still that possibility of a very small wind chill as you're going throughout your day on Sunday. But with the winds, we're watching that possibility of 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts that could cause that possibility of that high fire danger, especially with such dry conditions and the drought. And it is Thursday, so the latest drought monitor is in. I'll show you what that means for San Antonio ahead of the cold front coming up in just a bit.
We'll take a look at this. This is a security camera showing the chaos as a UPS cargo plane crashed in Kentucky this week.
ABC's Rena Roy has the latest on the investigation, plus new video showing the moment the plane went down.
Dramatic new video of that UPS plane crashing down in Louisville Tuesday. You see a car driving along when the aircraft comes down fast, slamming into businesses and exploding into flames. People running out of a business. This is what's left behind. Mangled metal and cars burned, massive piles of wreckage smoldering.
What this scene is violent. We do not expect to find anyone else alive in the area.
Governor Andy Beshear declaring a state of emergency. Officials say identifying the victims and locating the missing has been difficult.
I had previously reported that there were 15 individuals that had been reported as missing. We have located 6 of those individuals over the last 24 hours. And so we're now down to 9 that are missing.
The NTSB on the ground leading the investigation, saying the left engine of Flight 2976 caught fire moments after takeoff, separating from the aircraft. The plane slamming into the ground, the debris field nearly half a mile wide. This dashcam video shows another angle of the plane falling from the sky, leaving a trail of flames. The driver running for cover. The plane's black boxes recovered from the scene.
We feel comfortable once we get these to our lab in D.C. that we will be able to get a good readout of the applicable data.
And 28 NTSB investigators are on the scene there working to figure out what exactly went wrong. They're looking at things like the engines, maintenance of the plane, and flight control systems. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, the Food and Drug Administration has issued a warning to 18 websites that it says are marketing unapproved and misbranded drug versions of Botox. The FDA says there are reports of people getting sick after using those products. Some had botulism symptoms, and Botox products are injectable drugs that block nerve activity in muscles, and they're used for treatment of chronic migraines and muscle stiffness, but also for cosmetic purposes like reducing wrinkles. The FDA has a list of the 18 websites that it sent warning letters to. You can look that up on the FDA's website.
There were a lot of pink slips handed out last month. The number of U.S. layoffs announced in October rocketed upward by more than 153,000. The report from employer outplacement services company called Challenger Gray & Christmas says that's an increase of 175% from October of last year. The company says disruptive technology, notably artificial intelligence, is what's changing the employment landscape. Jobs reports like this one are more in the spotlight right now. That's because the government's report for September didn't get released, and there won't be one for October due to the ongoing government shutdown.
Democratic former Speaker Nancy Pelosi will not seek re-election to the U.S. House, effectively ending her political career. So Pelosi has represented San Francisco for nearly 40 years. She was the first woman in the Speaker's office, and Pelosi was also an architect of the Affordable Care Act. Her decision comes after she helped lead California's redistricting effort.
Well, families are waiting to hear more after that deadly flood along Bidle Creek this summer, and new information is on its way. This noon, a look at the timeline of events leading up to today's update.
The Mega Millions jackpot has now reached an estimated $843 million. So that is the 8th largest jackpot in the history of the game.
It's not small. There were no tickets that matched all 6 numbers during Tuesday night's drawing, which means the prize is still up for grabs. The next Mega Millions drawing is Friday, November 7th. Your odds to strike it big and win the jackpot, about 1 in 290 million.
So Friday's drawing will be the 38th since the last jackpot winner, and the previous mark of 37 straight drawings ended in January of 2021 with a $1 billion winner.
Anyone feeling lucky this Thursday?
No.
Not that lucky.
I don't mess around with that.
I mean, you can feel pretty lucky because today it's still going to be a beautiful day, seeing those clear skies. But not only that, this weekend, we're still seeing a cold front move through. Temperatures ahead of it still sitting in the 80s, but behind it, we're tracking temperatures as our peak temperature in the 60s, even waking up in the 30s. I'll talk about what this cold front's going to do and if it's bringing any rain and if it will affect our drought monitor that was issued today, coming up after the break.
Well, happening today, if you know a veteran or just want to show your support, Project Mend is hosting a salute to our veterans this evening. So it is a special event to honor veterans, their families, and caregivers with resources made just for them. There will be live music from Patsy Torres and some fun games, prizes, and food. So this is happening from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Project Mend, and it's all free and open to everybody.
Now to a story we've been following for months. Families demanding answers. This comes after that deadly flood along Beidle Creek this summer. And today we finally get more information about what happened. Back on June 12th, heavy rain turned creek areas into raging rivers. 13 people died in San Antonio. Months later, city leaders hired an engineering firm to investigate. KSAT reported about that decision back on June 24th. Now, 135 days later, those results will be made public. We're expecting that within the next hour.
Well, one person affected by this, Brittany Guerrero. So Brittany's father, Rudy Garza, was one of the victims, and he was driving to work when raging floodwaters swept him away. His body was found along Beidle Creek, a place that Brittany now considers hallowed ground. Now, Rudy was among the 11 people who lost their lives along Beidle Creek. 2 others were also killed in the floods along Leon Creek and Highway 90, a horrific tragedy that inspired state House leaders to pass House Resolution 86 to honor all the victims. But to Brittany, that's not enough.
Everything was great, what they said, and they acknowledged everybody. But I just don't want you to think that this is it. This made it better, because it didn't.
Well, now Brittany is looking to San Antonio council members. She wants them to come up with a plan to prevent future flood deaths. And we could be getting closer to that today. So around 1 this afternoon, city leaders will hold a special meeting to find out what engineers learned when they investigated last June's flood. KSAT 12 will be there, and you can watch the meeting any way you stream on KSAT Plus, KSAT.com, and via the KSAT News app.
We are on top of it. And I know you guys have been on top of this forecast because it's
Yes.
one a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people have been looking forward to. We had such a hot October, and now we're finally getting that cold front. Yeah.
And normally when you hear cold front, we've been either saying cold front or cool front, because cool fronts is when we get a little bit of those cooler temperatures, but we get more rain than anything. And this is going to be a cold front, not really bringing us any rain, which we still very much need. So I'll touch on the cold front coming up in just a second, but take a look at what you can expect this afternoon. It's still going to be very warm. In fact, above our average temperature, 84 degrees for us this afternoon. Not really seeing too much of those breezier conditions for us here in the Alamo City, but the cold front we're seeing this weekend is going to be strong. The difference between a cold front and a cool front that we've been talking about is, well, the cold fronts are going to be strong and bring us the temperatures of our highs in the 60s. Our morning temperatures are going to even be in the 30s. Some areas might see below freezing temperatures or temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit for us, and we're also going to see those drier conditions, but those drier conditions do come at a cost. Now, normally when you see the cold front or the cool fronts, that mean normally either those cooler temperatures or a little bit of rain. But as that cold front pushes through, not only is most of the country going to stay relatively dry, in fact, San Antonio is also expected to be dry. Most of the rain is going to stay well off to the coast, and even then some portions of the Gulf or of the southeast might see a little bit of rain, but San Antonio is expected to be dry, which isn't necessarily good news. This is the latest drought monitor for us. Most of us, not much of an improvement or even not much of a difference. What we're seeing is that dry, that abnormally dry, that yellow color. It was in portions of Kerr County up towards Bandera even as well. But now that's just the moderate dry category. Last week we saw the difference between the exceptional to even the extreme drought, but really not much of a change for portions of Bexar County. But this still needs to improve. We still need the rain. It's been over 1,500 days since all of South Central Texas was last considered to be drought free, which is really 4 years of continual drought. And yes, we've had some days where we do see more rain than others, but really, we need any rain is good rain at this point. Now with the drought monitor, it does take into account of the the aquifer levels. It takes into account of the soil moistures, the levels of the soil, as a bunch of things, especially the lakes, the rivers, a whole bunch of stuff. So any rain is good rain, especially if it impacts us in that sense. But not only are we going to sit dry with that cold front, we're also seeing some stronger winds. So there is that chance of some drier conditions and some breezier winds, having that possibility of some fire danger. Now for us on Sunday, most of the winds are expected to be mostly in the morning, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do still see those 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the afternoon, especially because the good news is after Sunday, those winds are expected to die down at least a little bit, but they're still expected to be strong. And those strong winds and dry conditions with really no rain is also going to help worsen and fuel the potential for some fire danger. We've had little to no rain, so everything's been able to dry out very quickly. And we're still going to be warm and dry this weekend, but even with those cooler temperatures, if we're still sitting dry, there's really no expected conditions or relief for us here in South Central Texas for any sort of moisture to get rid of that drought and that fire danger. So keep that in mind as we go into Sunday with those breezier conditions. Although it's still going to be cooler, there is still that possibility of some elevated fire danger as you're going into the week. Waking up in the 30s on Monday and Tuesday, right in time for Veterans Day, having our peak temperatures slowly but surely creep back up into the 70s next week.
Thank you, Shelby. Well, coming up this weekend, an event to bring awareness and raise funding to fight stomach cancer. This is hosted by Debbie's Dream Foundation, and one of the organizers talked to us about the event. Well, according to the American Cancer Society, an estimated 30,300 new cases of stomach cancer are expected to be diagnosed in the U.S. this year. So that figure accounts for approximately 1.5% of all new cancers diagnosed in the U.S. every year. So happening this weekend, an event to bring awareness and raise funds to fight stomach cancer, hosted by Debbie's Dream Foundation. And joining us this morning, we have Yolanda Pereira, the day one of the organizers of the event, and also a stomach cancer survivor, also with Kelly Brown. Thank you guys for joining us.
You're welcome.
Who's a Debbie's Dream advocate. So good morning, and thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Well, first of all, just tell everyone out there a little bit about yourselves and how stomach cancer has impacted your lives.
Sure. I was diagnosed in 2021, in the middle of the year, with stomach cancer. Kind of surprise to me. By the end of that year, in December, I had undergone chemo, radiation, and then my stomach was removed. And that time, my journey just started, right? And I became then an advocate, a mentor for Debbie's Dream Foundation, and we are passionate about sharing our story and making people aware of this horrible disease.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, you're impacted as well. This event this weekend is hosted by Debbie's Dream Foundation. So how has the foundation helped you?
Originally, so my journey with this started in 2016 when I lost my sister to stomach cancer, and then I was diagnosed in 2018 and had a complete removal of my stomach, a total gastrectomy. So Debbie's Dream has helped me with being in a community of other people who understand what we're going through, and it's given me the ability and the voice to advocate and let people know about stomach cancer and stomach cancer awareness.
Correct.
Well, tell us about the event here locally. You know, if this might impact somebody's family, or somebody might be going through it, or just, you know, getting that, you know, scary diagnosis. How can people know, get to participate in the event?
I'm very excited about that. We do have a way to register. It's not too late to register to walk with a 5K run or a 1-mile walk, or just come and donate to get some raffle tickets. And we've got great prizes that we're giving away. Come join us for breakfast. We're giving coffee and sweet bread in the morning, as early as 7:30 in the morning. But more importantly, we're going to have some vendors there, some companies there to talk to you about early detection for stomach cancer. In the case of Kelly, you know, what can we do to go out there if you have a gene that, you know, a genetic gene, how do you detect that? So we'll have some people there to educate us about stomach cancer, and then just come together as a community to help this cause. So join us.